Okay, yes, we are live. Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining today. My name is Olena Gryniuk, and I'm Regional Director for the Central Eastern Europe at the SME Banking Club, and I will be your host today. And today we will talk about digitalization of SMEs, and we'll focus on the digital payments as a part of SMEs' digital transformation, and how banks can help small businesses to go through it smoother. And I'm glad to be joined today by Engel, industry expert and chief marketing officer at Visita. Hello, Adi, and welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me, Olena.
Thank you for being with us today. Okay, before we go to the topic, let me mention shortly organizational moments. So our webinar is scheduled for 45 minutes. We are recording this webinar, so right after we finish, you will receive the link to the video and the presentations. And in the end of the webinar, we will have time for your questions. So please prepare yours and type your questions into the chat. Okay, so let's go to the topic. So we discussed during webinars last year how banks can help SMEs to move their businesses online. And we see some examples here in the CE region when banks are offering SMEs to open or help them to open e-shops, offering some free months or like free of charge at all. Then creating their payment gates, then also doing some trainings on these topics. Also with the cooperation with fintechs, we have some cases here in the CE region that banks are offering also buy now, pay later solutions. So for the SMEs to attract customers more in their e-shops. Just to show some examples here, for these are three from Poland. They actually were the first. This was the first banks that started such a support for SMEs. This was ING Bank. They did a campaign like Keep Going Business, also offering e-shop, different webinars and payment gates. For SMEs, mBank as well, the same. And also they added a marketing support for the SMEs, so not only to open a business online or e-shop, but also how to manage it and market it in the internet. And Santander Bank here in Poland lately also is active in such support. And here is actually the webinars that they are doing for SMEs on this topic, so how to manage businesses online. What we actually see, but still such initiatives are not too often, because if you see here in this red box, only less than 30% of the banks implemented such support for SMEs, like integrated e-commerce platforms or similar solutions. So in this, we consider that this is a beginning of implementations in the CE region. This is based on our last year online banking study that we conducted last autumn. Also, we all know that turnover of e-commerce has increased significantly during last year. Up to 50% and even more. But if we watch and if we see the SME sector here, so for example, I had statistics on Poland before the pandemic, so at the end of 2019, and it showed that 26% of SME customers didn't have a web page, a company or business web page at all. And this differs depending on the size of the SME. So if we look at the micros, so only 34% of customers had a web page, company's web page, and it goes up to 94% for the bigger SMEs and medium business. And this is only a web page, like a first step to digital sales. And actually, micros showed that they suffered last year, as a result of the last year, the most from the pandemic crisis. So if to go also on the online and or cashless payments, Bain & Company published an interesting figure that last year, up to 30% of consumers in Europe refused to pay cash during pandemic. And this is a last slide from my side, but very interesting snapshot on the most cashless economies or countries in Europe. This is not covering Scandinavian countries where cashless transactions are close to 100%. But here, for example, in Europe, so the percentage of population willing to go completely cashless is average is 40%. And if we see on the contactless transactions, so here the leaders of this yellow circles, so the leaders here are Poland, Czech Republic, and after that Hungary. So this is a state of the play at the moment here in the region. And Adi, I'm passing the word to you. Please share with us your experience on supporting SMEs in this area.
Thank you so much, Olena. And I think the statistics definitely in the last year has changed dramatically. And as you say, the drive towards using digital payments was definitely encouraged, if that's a good word for it, by the pandemic and the consumer trends around using cash. And I think, as an ecosystem, and definitely as the banks or potential funding partners that are supporting those SMEs, there's a clear incentive for the ecosystem for small businesses to go cashless. It allows better transparency, better tracking. Governments are pushing for it for obvious reasons. So I wanted to share with you today our perspective around what are potentially the barriers toward the adoption of digital payments as a main payment means for small businesses. And, how do I believe we could help them through this process? And I'll start by telling you the obligatory little bit about us and where we come from and why, we know what we know, what is our perspective. And I think it was interesting that you showed that the difference between the different sizes of small businesses, because we at Visita, we're serving the smallest segment of those SMEs. We're working with micro businesses. We're working mainly with businesses who are service providers. So again, not necessarily the early adopters of the e-commerce technology, so retailers and anyone who was doing any kind of physical products. We definitely saw a great move towards digital in the last year or so. Of course, it has its own challenges. Not every retailer is built to be an online retailer. But we are serving, if you ask me, the more interesting segment of the population. First of all, it's 90% of SMEs. So if retail is around 10%, the service providers are around 90% of SMEs. And they are, possibly the least served segment by technology. There, definitely a huge potential in terms of whoever is able to serve them, but not necessarily a problem that was already kind of figured out by technology providers. We've been doing this for 10 years. We have 150 employees. And, in terms of what our product is, we help them manage the day-to-day of their business. So our role as their technology provider is, first of all, to help them simplify day-to-day tasks. We automate whatever is possible. So if you think about service providers, so if I'm a yoga studio, I want to automate the process in which customers are signing up to classes. I want to automate how they pay for them. I want to automate the reminder for them to bring a towel and their yoga mat. And I want to automate the process of offering them a promotion towards, ahead of summer. The classic get a summer body kind of promotion that is seasonal And this is something that all of those tasks are overhead for the business owners themselves, and they can rely on technology to take it off their hands. And lastly, what we found is that when we're working with this segment, we have to show them the way towards digitalization of their business in general. So we have a learning platform on top of our product to help them do those changes in their business and move towards this greater efficiency, greater transparency, better customer service for their customers. So this is our perspective. I think it's quite clear that we ourselves are not a payment provider. We're not a payment gateway. We are, I will call it, a payment facilitator. So just in terms of very high level our feature set, we help them with managing their time, we're helping them with managing their clients, we're helping them with managing their engagement with their clients, and then lastly, we're helping them charge those clients for whatever it is that they consumed from them. And we use external payment gateways to do that. We use our partner payment gateways, but which gives us an interesting perspective, because we are not the providers of the technology, but we are the umbrella in which this technology lives. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a background around what our perspective is. Now, of course, it's easy to say that, digital payments are part of a bigger story for that business. Now, if I'm not being paid, I'm not a business. If my business was trying to remain active during the pandemic, as we know, probably I had to take on a level of digitalization of my business. If I did not meet my clients, then these payments needed to happen remotely, so they happen digitally. All of this is a little bit straightforward, and we're saying, okay, so what exactly is my point here around the complexity? And I think the question is not so much whether people are open to using digital payments once in a while, or whether they are open to taking on another form of payment. I think it's more around, as Olena said, are they willing to make this their 100% of revenue coming into the business, or at least the main method of payment? And again, the reason that we would want it to be their main method of payment is the transparency, the clear records, the data that is being generated around it. And this is a win-win-win scenario for themselves, for their clients, and for the ecosystem. So how do we tackle the bigger story of unlocking opportunities for them through digitalization of their payments? First of all, we have to acknowledge the fact that this is not a straightforward transition. So, as we said, it's very much driven by consumer trends, very much driven by necessity. A lot of small businesses wouldn't have gone through this transformation if it wasn't for something that their clients expect of them. And the reason for that is that cash in itself is not without its value. It's immediate. You have it in your hand physically, which makes it both an objective and a subjective value. I want to see the money, right? There's a famous quote from a famous movie, give me the money, show me the money. And I think this is where a lot of businesses struggle with the idea of digital payments. I've seen myself businesses that were actually looking at the app as they were doing this to see that the money is there. I've spoken to a business owner, a beautician, who was very upset when she looked at her bank app and didn't see a transfer that happened yesterday, and she didn't know when it was supposed to arrive. This level of trust, it only takes one time of not being sure where that particular piece of cash is, and you might create an emotional objection towards the digitalization of payments. And of course, there's the element of transparency to the government, transparency to tax authorities that businesses are traditionally objecting to. We cannot condone using cash as a way of avoiding taxes, but the fact is that it happens. And finally, we have to know that for everyone, and small businesses are people at the end of the day, all people resist change. And in order to get people to go through a change, we need to show them an opportunity that it has greater value than staying with their existing situation, even if they weren't particularly happy with it. So this is just the nature of humans. So if we're looking at it, and this is one of those sentences you'll hear me say a lot, digitalization is a learning process, and we have to treat it like a learning process. We have to understand that there are stages to it, there are emotional barriers to it, and there are breakthroughs in it. Those aha moments that when I see value in something new that I've learned and implemented, and I feel, okay, there's something for me to gain from this. And like all learning, you can learn and forget, or you can learn and implement. So how can we, as their ecosystem partners, help them make this transition smoother? I'm going to suggest three things that we can do. Obviously, there are probably 100 things, but these are my top ideas for today, and I'd be happy to take any other ideas, any questions in the discussion later. So first of all, and this is very much from our perspective, again, we have to put payments in context. So just giving you the ability to send someone a link and get a payment back does not put it in the business context in which it happened. So these are examples. I'm going to just go through them very, very quickly. And I know that we're sharing the presentation as well. These are examples of our clients at Visita talking about how they are using payments within the context of what they are doing in their business. So for example, the handyman and home repair professional that is on the top left, he's sending out estimates or quotes. These quotes are being approved online and then turn automatically into invoices that are then payable. So this is putting the payment in the context of the quote of that specific task at hand. On the bottom, the beauty salon owner, she's creating bundles of services. So I'm doing my face, my nails, and my eyebrows in the same package. And that means that I'm paying not for just one product, I'm paying for 3 of them together, but then I get a discount for it. Maybe I even get a monthly bundle. So because I know I want to do my facial once a month. A psychologist here is connecting the payment to the booking itself. So as I'm scheduling the time to come in, I'm already paying for the session, which of course is something that during the pandemic became very, very important because you never knew if you were going to be open, if the clients themselves were able to show up. A lot of people went into, unfortunately, quarantine or something like that, and then they simply couldn't show up. So this predictability around getting paid became very, very important, to the point that in Australia, I think I've heard, cafes were pre-booking tables to get a coffee, where you actually had to prepay for your coffee to get the table because they were limited in space. So this is, again, putting this the payment in context. I gave Olena a really good example when we were preparing for this together. I had to book a COVID test for a flight a couple of weeks ago, and I was working with a clinic that sent me an email to approve my appointment. They send me a payment link to go copy the payment amount to that platform that they send me, and then they asked me to send them back a print screen of the approval of the payment to send it back to them for them to approve that appointment by email. And although this is a fully digitalized business, look, their bookings, their meetings online, I got to them through their website. They let me pay online. But the fact that the experience wasn't streamlined, first of all for me, but mostly for them, is really creates a lot of overhead for them. And I needed to really kind of attach that screenshot with my name, with the reference, just to make sure that everything is in line for them and they know who I am. And that is it is digitalization, but it's digitalization out of context. Second, I think quite important is that we go digital ourselves. And I think I assume that I don't need to tell you that there are a lot of digital payment providers and platforms where the creation of the account or the KYC are not digitalized, which is something that is, of course, a little bit of an irony. And it means that the customer experience coming into this digital payment platform is broken up. It means that, not necessarily the payment provider is able to speak the same business language as the SME. So by giving them, first of all, a digital experience, second, being able to give them a digital service for what it is that they're doing, and also getting the data, the BI, the information from that SME and back to the bank or a potential lender to them. That's very important. That means the whole industry needs to go through a process of digitalization. Mostly, I would say a lot of banks have gone through a very significant process of digitalization on some of their segments, not necessarily on the micro SME level. But I think I'm probably not the biggest expert in this room to tell you how important is the digitalization of the banking industry to actually support the digitalization of the entire ecosystem. I'm sure this is something you discuss a lot. And then finally, once we have the small business interested in the digitalization process and the system around them able to take on that data, use those insights, potentially create all kinds of cross-sale and upsell opportunities for the small business and the banks that are supporting them, we are asking that we reward digitalization. And how can that happen? We reward digitalization if we give small businesses who took on a digital tool to manage their business better funding rates or opportunities to get into potentially a higher service level at that bank. And if we are giving them, better rates on other bank products, for example, better credit score in some countries, all of these are ways for banks to actually reward the digitalization of small businesses. And why do I suggest that we do that? Because eventually it's a win-win-win situation, as I said, for the customer, for the consumer of that business, who will get better customer experience, the ability to pay through digital means, which means the uptake of digital payments in general in that geography or region is increasing. It's it's good for the business themselves because they have the track record, they have the structure, they have the ability to share the information about themselves and the level of stability with the ecosystem. And it's good for the banks because they're able to spot new opportunities. They're able to spot businesses that are in the process of transition and able to offer them the right support at the right time. And this data, I think, we say nowadays data is oil. And this data is only available if the entire system went through the process of digitalization. So if we are relying on them to give this data to us, we need to help them do that. And then finally, it's an opportunity to build a trusting relationship with those small businesses. So if we are supporting them in doing things that are difficult, like changing their business models, changing the way that they operate, changing the way that they charge their clients, then we need to give them something in return. And I think I often tell our financial institution partners that once you've given funding to a small business to grow their business, you are literally invested in their success. So once you are literally invested in their success, you want to give them the tools to be more successful. And absolutely, all research shows that digitalization is one of those keys to success for them. And then finally, this is our team's motto. I just have this extra slide to share it. I believe this is something that we should all think about. Eventually, we rise by lifting others. We believe very strongly that by supporting the micro businesses, which is, of course, has its challenges, but we are able to support the community. We are able to support the greater economy. And in these days, it's obviously more important than ever. So I hope that a lot of people in this room, and I know that a lot of people in this room share this opinion. And that was us.
Yes, thank you, Adi. I encourage everybody to ask your questions. Yes, we are ready to answer, and we have two questions. Chris is asking, do you have partnership with bank currently? And actually, maybe I will widen a bit this question. How exactly do you cooperate with banks?
So we work together with banks on various levels to offer our digitalization platform for their clients. So some of them become resellers of ours. Basically, we are integrating into their main platform, could be their app if they have one, or they could be referring their clients to us if they have any limitations on actually becoming resellers. And we know that in a lot of countries, banks are not actually allowed to become resellers of other technologies. So they might refer clients to us. And then finally, we do a lot of educational activities together with partners. So I think I said earlier, we find that we have to be thought leaders within our small business community. We have to support them in doing those transitions. So a lot of times we will be creating educational content together with our financial institution partners, and then develop it for their audience and offer them the opportunities to be supported in the digitalization process. We're working, yes, we are working with banks. We're also partners of MasterCard. And, we are also working across other partner verticals. So we're working with telcos, we're working with marketing platforms. So our hope is to get to SMEs as in whatever way that is effective for them. We find that eventually we have to come to where they are. We cannot sit around and wait for them to join us. But I think particularly working with the financial industries is interesting because there's great opportunity for everyone involved. There's great synergy of the objectives. There's great alignment around what we are trying to support the small business with, and there's benefit with generating that data, with getting the small businesses to be more efficient, that is directly translated to the bottom line of the bank. So that for me is an ideal partnership.
And actually, my question, if I may here additional ask on to maybe give a bit more information in your answer, because we are saying here actually that banks have to support SMEs, meaning that anyway, if you're working with small businesses, you should spend time for engaging SMEs, and also for studying or give some organize some learning courses on everything, on financial or non-financial solutions and tools, because they usually do not have time and maybe skills to to cover this on everyday basis. And digitalization here, of course, is crucial important, because all the studies, different studies, show that, I don't know, up to 30 maybe percent SMEs are engaged with non-core business, or maybe even more, which can be automized and digitalized, and should be exactly for that they should think on their developing their businesses and how to survive in the crisis time, and not thinking how to do a bookkeeping or printing invoices or something like this. But yes, but as this is you should be involved then in learning these SMEs how to use this tool. So my question is, how do you exactly, because you also have learning hub, right, for your SME customers. So I also doubt, or maybe there could be a case that SME bankers, do they have all the needed skills to do such a learning for SMEs, and also just because this situation with pandemic is changing very fast for everybody. So how do you do this exactly? How do you organize the learning hub? Do you have a team of your experts inside, or you partner with some consultants, or and how, in case you cooperate with bank, how you do this technically?
Yeah. Well, first of all, a lot of good points there. I read somewhere, and this is before the pandemic, that small business spends 81 days of the year just managing their administrative tasks. So 81 days, that's practically 3 working months if we take out the weekends. And I think if we are going to spend 3 months of the year with that small business, we're helping them with their administrative tasks. Maybe we can reduce it by a little bit, but that's still a lot of time that we are in front of that small business's eyes as an app, and we have to respect their time, we have to respect their limitations. And yes, what we found is that, it eventually, the size of businesses that we're working with, which starts at solo entrepreneurs and goes up to, 10 employees, 20 employees. There's no technical limitation, by the way, to the system. It's the segment, it's the attribution of the segments that is special, because once you're at 50 employees, you already have a little bit of a different mindset. But these businesses, first of all, as you said, they have very, very little time. Second, they are technically businesses, but they make decisions as consumers. They are a consumer channel for all intents and purposes. They don't have an IT department to help them make the difficult decisions. So we have to be an attractive consumer brand to them. And in order to do so, as you've seen, we have very colorful branding, very colorful presentations. We talk to people about the emotional level of their decision making around the business. We work with our small business community, and we bring in other small businesses to talk about their own successes and failures. And we work on an inspirational level with them, because we understand that it's nice that Visita has 150 employees, as I said. For you, probably we qualify as a small business ourselves, but we are not going through the day-to-day grind and pressure of, having your business open one day and close the next day because of lockdowns. We don't know how, hard it is to be a solo entrepreneur. We can only ask them. And so we built the entire educational platform very customer centric, in the sense that we didn't develop the content. we asked our small businesses to help us develop the content. And yes, we do have a team internally, but their focus is on learning methodologies. We have learning experts, we bring in learning methodologies, top of the art ways of getting people to change their behavior. And we work with our small business community. We have quite a significant amount of small businesses that are very happy to work with us and actually create the content for their peers. And this is, by the way, best practice for learning nowadays. You have to have the platform that has both the peer-to-peer element of learning, the inspirational element of learning, and then the tools themselves. So we connect whatever you were learning directly with a couple of clicks to, for example, our marketing tool. And we say, now you've learned about how to retain your clients. Here are 2 clicks. Here is a template of an email campaign that you can send to your clients. So that simplification of an automation, that is really what we do for a living. And I don't think we could have been successful in this vertical without having this level of engagement with our community. And as to your question, can bankers do that? First of all, absolutely anyone can do it with the right tools. But then also, we this is what we are here for, and hopefully we can help with those things. We can develop relevant custom content for specific partners of ours. We have done that before on multiple markets. We've been running webinars with MasterCard around how to return from the pandemic. When we thought lockdown was over, last year there was this point in time where people thought that lockdown was over. So yeah, this is an ongoing process, and it is definitely a challenging one.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be fun if it wasn't, right? It's like,
Yes, yes. This is cool. And you then engage your SMEs in different countries when you cooperate from the local societies.
mm,
This is cool. Okay, so I'm continuing reading the questions. Chris asks, as Visita has reminders capability, especially for payment in collection, does the platform need to integrate with accounting platform for it to work? And just combined with the next question from Chris, is it minimally to have integration with accounting program or internet banking also possible?
um, That's all very good questions. It
Yes.
allows me to tell you about our API platform. So we like to call our product an app. As I said, our audience is consumers, so we don't want to alarm them with super sophisticated platforms. But the platform itself is a full API platform, a full microservices environment. So we're able to very easily integrate with external services. And this is part of our strategy. We don't believe that we should ask small businesses to manage multiple apps that don't speak to one another. This is, again, if we are going to be respectful of their time, we need to learn to work well together. And therefore, yes, we absolutely do integrate with banking capabilities. We integrate into bank apps, so they don't have to download multiple apps. We let them do deep integration between. So, for example, I could be on my bank app and I want to create a new invoice, and I'm clicking on creating a new invoice, and it takes me seamlessly into the creating new invoice environment within Visita. So we have all of these capabilities, and we strongly believe that it's a differentiator, because eventually, if we're going to start asking people, now download this, now download that, pay a subscription to them, we are, not being helpful to them. And as for reminders, yes, absolutely, the reminders are a major part of automation of tasks. It's not so much reminding the business owner, often it's reminding the client. I think one of the things that we see is that Clients normally, if they forget to pay, it's not because they didn't want to, or it's not because they were avoiding the payment, but it's mainly just forgetfulness. And for small business owners, the conversation around "you owe me money for last week" is very, very awkward. They don't want to be doing it themselves, because, I just gave this person a physiotherapy session. I'm very concerned about their bad knee, or I'm their dog walker, or I'm their legal advisor. Maybe I'm even their business coach. And all of those businesses, eventually now they have to come to you and ask you to pay for that session, is really an awkward conversation. So they don't want to do it. The client is not necessarily intentionally not paying. So the reminders capability, it allows them to detach themselves from it. It's like, it's not me that's asking for it, it's the system that's asking for it.
Yeah, but
And
also
we
it saves times because time for collection is also, time
exactly.
administrative
So
tasks.
it's very hard for us to help them with clients that really don't want to pay, right? We don't have an app that will go and threaten them, right? But with the basic, 99% of people, we can definitely get them to pay faster through those automatic reminders and with less awkwardness for everyone. And then finally, the question about the accounting software. We do have our own invoicing capabilities. We, as you know, the ability to send out an invoice or even a quote that is then being um, transitioned into an invoice once it's approved. We do have the ability to share it with a client. We have an online client portal where they can download the invoice, they can approve it, they can pay for it through a payment link. We are not an accounting system in the sense that we have accountant-facing feature set. So we do integrate with accounting systems that are serving accountants, or with the systems that do both sides. So for example, in the US, we're working together with QuickBooks. We're syncing the invoices. So invoices that are created on our platforms are being automatically synced into QuickBooks, and then the accountant can go in and take a look at those invoices and do whatever it is that accountants do. I'm not entirely sure, but something. And then so we're not, and I think this is our policy around a lot of the ways that we integrate. We know what's our core strength. Our core strength is managing the money, time, clients of the business, and the engagement with the client, make it a good customer experience for them. And we leave, super sophisticated other domains to our partners, and we will integrate to work together.
Okay. Chris is asking only invoicing ability or also support digitalization of procurement process.
So no, we're not working directly on the procurement process, but we integrate with third parties that do. So basically, by having the platform, it allows us to work across regions, across verticals. So if I'm a legal advisor and I'm working on Visita, probably I don't have a very sophisticated procurement needs. But maybe I have a time watch to charge my clients based on hours worked, so I need that. If I'm yes, working in any kind of business where there are important suppliers, definitely I need procurement. If I'm delivering products, and then I need a delivery system. So our way of working across verticals is to integrate with the right players for those hyper verticalized needs, such as procurement. So if you have, Chris, if you have a specific system in mind, you're welcome to talk to us, and we'll see. Definitely, we can talk about integrating.
And we have questions from Gardana. First one is, what about omni-channel payments? Are you supporting it somehow?
So I'm assuming that you mean partial payments coming from different environments? I'm not.
Yes, I think that this is about like if you started, to do your payment in the online, I mean from the laptop, and then you continue from your mobile phone, kind of
Yeah.
this. And the second question here is visitor registered to giving payment services all over the European Union.
So we are not ourselves a payment gateway, and therefore we are working with local payment gateways. We're working right now with PayPal, Stripe, Square, Braintree. We're integrating with Mastercard's MPGS, and we're also integrating with a lot of local payment gateways that are serving specific markets. This is a market that has a lot of technology in it, and given the level of regulation around this, and also it's an opportunity for our partners because a lot of the banks that we work with actually own a payment gateway. So it doesn't make sense for us to bring digital payments to their and like increase the usage of digital payments for them if we're not increasing it for their own payment gateway. So we will integrate with your own payment gateway if you have one and you would like us to work directly with it. And then specifically for omni-channel, again, because we are not the payment gateway, we will not be managing, a payment that has been, stopped in the middle. That is obviously the payment gateway side. But what we can do from our side is manage partial payments. So if, for example, I have this project and I'm paying a deposit for it, and then every week I'm paying another 10%, and then at the end I'm paying another 30% for the completion of the job. This is again where I say this is about putting payments in the business context. So some of those payments could be online, some of those payments could be in cash, some of those payments could be through some app, that as long we're allowing the business to track it across the different verticals, the different channels. But again, we are not the payment like
Organization.
transition generator ourselves.
Okay, and we are running out of time, and probably the last question will be from my side. How do you motivate your SME customers to use your tools more actively? Meaning, this digital payments, digital platform, maybe as a whole. And also, what are the main sources and tools? How do you acquire new customers to use? Because from the one side, like we talked also previously, that from the one side, SMEs seem to be more agile than the corporates, for example, because they are very often on this age of break even, and they're very close to have losses and then the corporate customers, so they should be agile to survive. But from the other side, there's skills and times, especially in micro segment, brings to the situation when, for example, what we saw in different countries in Europe, that entrepreneurs were asking government, please let us reopen businesses as we used to work before the pandemic. So what are your tools and motivations for SMEs to change? Let's call it like this.
Well, first of all, we have to prove value to them, and the burden of proof is on us always. I think in terms of, as I said, yes, this is a consumer channel, and we have to be where consumer brands are. So we have marketing campaigns over social media. We have, we have a lot of paid traffic campaigns. We work through SEO. We work through, all of the traditional kind of consumer marketing channels, as well as working with our partners. Our business is 75% partner-led, in the sense that, if we are asking ourselves, for this small business, what are their sources of inspiration or learning or tools? It could be something I saw online. It could be something I was searching for. It could be my bank that told me about it. It could be, a marketing campaign that I saw on the street, and it could be my friends. For example, we have almost 70% of our traffic is 17 is coming from viral links. So someone who saw the product used by someone else and wanted it too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a mix of trying to get to them, as I said, where they are. And the motivation normally, it's not so much about creating motivation, is helping them stick to it. I always tell my team we're like a diet app. You download the diet app, that is not the problem. Everyone wants to download the diet
Yeah.
app, or it's a running app, these kind of couch to 5K app, or learn a new language app. It's not hard to talk to people about wanting to improve their business, and it's very much I always hear it from businesses I speak to. This year I want to be more on top of my invoices, I want to be more on top of my staying in touch with my clients, I'm missing this, I'm missing that. The will and the openness for improvement is always there. That's the easy part.
Mm-hmm.
It's about getting them to stick to the new regime, the new diet, the new running plan.
Yeah.
That is, so we have to build in a lot of classic app tools into it, and nudges. We send them push notifications. We encourage them when they do, like, here is your first client, here is your first marketing campaign,
Mm-hmm.
here is, and we have to work with these tools. And this is I if anyone here, you can go into our site to download the app, and you get a free trial, because again, it's a consumer product, and you'll see the onboarding is extremely simplified, very colorful, very cheerful. It's all about, yeah, you're doing great. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, this is the way to do it. I mean, there's no shortcuts,
Yeah.
unfortunately. If you
Yeah.
know of any shortcuts, please tell me.
Yes. Thank you very much, Adi, for your brilliant presentation and for this talk. Yes. So everybody got a link here. We will also send it now after the webinar together with presentations. We will send the link. So thank you all the attendees for staying with us till the end, and thank you, Adi, for your contribution. Thank you,
Thank
and
you.
see you
It's
next
been
time
wonderful.
online.
Yeah, I
Yes.
hope so.
Yes. Yes. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you very much.